All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, I'm going to be in the 168-pound division, where, according to reports, there's some discrepancies in Terence Crawford's publicly released or leaked PED testing from Vada. Once again, there is reports of a discrepancy in the publicly released or leaked Vada testing for Terence Crawford ahead of his Canelo Alvarez fight. Let's talk about that and give you my opinion about what has been reported. And I am saying this very slowly so that people that may listen to this video know that I'm giving you my opinion about what was reported. During this particular video, will not be making any assertions of fact other than saying that it is a fact that these things have been reported. I say that for anybody that may be excessively litigious in their reactions to things that they don't like to hear. At no point in this video will I defame Terence Crawford or Vada or anyone else, because it is true what I am saying, that the discrepancy has been reported. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and somebody got some splaining to do about a discrepancy on a leaked Vada test for Terence Crawford ahead of his fight with Canelo Alvarez. There is a strange discrepancy on the paperwork, as has been reported by Boxing Ego. I watched Boxing Ego's video. I am making a comment on his presentation. Now, why do I have to say that? Because certain fighters who are subject matter to this are very litigious when they feel they've been insulted, despite the fact that you cannot sue anyone for being offended. You have to get them for defamation. And defamation of character is when someone knowingly reports false information. That means they have to know the information is false. Now, that I've had that disclaimer, very long and very specific disclaimer for certain people's lawyers, so they know what I'm saying. Now, before I get into the details, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. Now, what discrepancy am I talking about? Boxing Ego did a video in which he showed he purported to show leaked footage or leaked Vada testing from the upcoming fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. But there was a problem with the paperwork as shown by Boxing Ego in his video. The date of the letter was in 2024. The date given on the same piece of paper was for a date 2025. So the letter, which was reporting to say Terence Crawford's tests were negative for his Vada test, it was in a letter that was dated well over a year ago. Or slightly over a year ago. So Boxing Ego reasonably brought up a question. What is this? Is this that somebody made a clerical error and put the wrong year on there? Or is it a situation where somebody leaked something where they photoshopped over the body of the letter and the year was right, but they superimposed things on top of it? Now, both of those scenarios could be true. Now watch again. When I'm doing these videos about Terence Crawford, I have to be very specific that I'm not making any accusation. I do not know that Terence Crawford had anything to do with that discrepancy. I do not know whether or not the discrepancy is just a typo or whether it is some complicated plot to cover up for Terence Crawford and some issue he could have possibly had with his tests. I don't know which of the two it is. However, I will say that it shows a lot. If this is the case, if this is a legitimate piece of paperwork that Boxing Ego showed, if this is legit, it shows at very least slack on the administrative portion of their business, which has to say, hey, if you would make that mistake, what other mistakes are you making? That is when people will start looking at things to decide whether or not you're serious or not and whether or not you are a professional or not. Take, for example, a conversation that I'd had with a certain attorney. And when I'm talking about issues of defamation, they bring up issues of freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. Of course, there is no universal. What was the phrase this man used with me? I think there is no absolute immunity for speech. Without a doubt, you cannot go jump into a fire. You can't go into a movie theater and scream fire. You don't have the freedom from the responsibilities of your speech. That is a totally different issue from whether or not somebody has committed defamation of character against a celebrity. Those are two different issues. And they tried to conflate the two issues. That is what I would call being dishonest, right? Or at least trying to be not dishonest, slightly manipulative in the situation. So here again, I will refuse to do that. I don't know which of the two that is. However, the lack of professionalism is an issue because people that get these documents should have full faith that this document and this testing is real. If I'm Canelo Alvarez and I see this and I say, hold on. They say that you did this test last year, but the test was, how did you do a test a year ago in June of 2024, but the results come out now in 2025? How could that possibly be? Something has to be wrong here. You've got to correct this. Now, there's also other bits of lackadaisicalness that have been taking place within Vada. The fact that Victor Conti was able to tell the world what amount of ostarine was in the system of Ryan Garcia, when Victor Conti claims that he has no connection to Vada whatsoever. How in the world did you get this? How would you know that if you don't have a connection to it? So look, there's a serious amount, and I don't mean take this small, there's a serious amount of questions that could be reasonably asked around Vada and the way their administrative procedures. You already have a guy that has admitted in the past to being able to beat your own tests that are working with fighters directly, even though you know he can beat your test. And then he switches it up. What he says, well, I haven't been able to beat that test since like 2006. No, bro, get out of here, dude. There's just so many questions around Vada that this particular oversight, it can create worry for people. Anyway, there's nothing defamatory about Terence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, Victor Conti, or anybody else in this video. So I hope you don't waste my time sending me another piece of paper to my house. Anyway, with that, I'm out. Deuces.